Hello everybody. Recently I was asked by one of my viewers to demonstrate the process of aligning the ASA dial or ISO dial on a Canon A1 camera, and I thought it was a good idea, and definitely something that I haven't demonstrated previously, and I figured on top of doing that I'll go ahead and explain the process on how I remove it, and not just on a Canon AE-1, but also on Canon A1, Canon A1 Program, and as well as Canon FTb series. All right, so with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the camera that I have on my bench right now, Canon A1. So here's our ISO dial or ASA dial, whatever you want to call it, basically exposure compensation. And in addition to that, the process is pretty straightforward. First things first, you want to remove the rewind knob. For that, I basically lift it up. I'd like to remove the film door first. So what I do next is you have to, there's basically a rewind fork here. You want to create a tension where this fork is being held in place, and then just turn this knob counterclockwise. Okay, in this particular case, this is my personal camera, there is no tension to hold this fork in place. Okay, in your particular case, if you plan on doing it with your camera, this will not fall out. Okay, it'll be held there by a spring. All right, so don't pay too much attention to this. So here's our, the only thing that will come off basically will be your rewind knob. So what do we have here? We have basically a dial that's being held in place by a small C-clamp here. Basically what I'll do next, I'm gonna use my clamp removal tool. Just gonna position it so I can get better access to it. So let me just go ahead, and before I get to that point, I'd like to usually align my exposure compensation to center 1 and set it to 100 ISO. Okay, so this is the way I do it. And what we'll do next, we're gonna go ahead and use my clamp removal, and with the help of the screwdriver, remove it. Okay, now I can actually lift this up carefully. Okay, sometimes you need a little bit of help, okay, depending on particular camera, but in any case it came out just fine. As you see here, this is our contact for the ASA. All right, that's basically sitting below the top cover. Whatever the reason is why you want to remove it, but that's the way to do that. Okay, now it's also being held by a C-clamp as well. Even if you remove the C-clamp here, obviously nothing's going to happen until you remove the entire top cover. Then you can do whatever needs to be done with that. All right, so hopefully that helps you out with the A1. And then placing it back, I basically keep the setting here as is. Okay, I'm not moving it much, and I should be able to just wiggle it a little bit. Okay, and there you go. Okay, just go ahead and remove it again. What we have here, we have this little hole here that you need to align it with this ASA contact. Okay, it needs to fall into place, and then you should be able to reassemble it the same way. So that's, go ahead, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it at an angle where I can see both. See how well it's seated now? It's fully in. If you put it in the wrong spot, you'll see that there's a little bit of a opening here. Obviously nothing's been aligned properly. So let's do it again. Align it, boom, goes in spot. Now there's a washer that usually accompanies this dial, we'll put it back in place. And then the C clamp. There you go. Basically gonna press this reset button and you can maneuver it left and right to select a different exposure compensation, and then to be able to manipulate your ASA settings, there's a button you're gonna hold on to and rotate the dial. All right, so reassembly of the rewind mechanism is the same way. Again, this fork will not come off in your particular case, because it's going to be held by a spring, internal spring. But in my case, again, this is just, you know, half disassembled camera. All right, so you're going to do that. Then you're going to take a screwdriver or sharp object, hold on to the rewind fork, and go clockwise to tighten it. Okay, there you go. There's your Canon A1 ASA disassembly and reassembly process. I'll go ahead and put this one away. Make room for the next one here. All right, so the next one I've got here is Canon A1. Now, Canon A1 is a little tricky one, okay, because if you, which is ASA dial is, by the way, right here, if you incorrectly disassemble this portion here, it may damage the tungsten wire assembly that controls this ASA dial. Okay, and then basically your entire metering is going to be distorted and not operational. So you want to be really careful compared to Canon A1, where there is really not much damage you can do if you disassemble that ASA dial on A1 incorrectly. It's a complete opposite if you do that incorrectly on the AE1 camera. Okay, so the process is a little bit different. Obviously, we're not going to disturb a rewind knob here. Okay, but we have to work on this section right here. First things first, we're going to remove the winding screw. Goes counterclockwise to take it off. Okay, it's got a screw and a couple of washers. All right, then the winding plate here we're gonna take out. Now, the way I like to do it is set my dial all the way up to B, okay, and then set my ASA to 3200, okay. The reason I like to do that is because this provides the least amount of tension on this spring that is being held by the tungsten wire assembly. So when you remove it, there's a very little chance that you're gonna damage or break that tungsten wire. So this is the least amount of tension you're gonna ever get on this dial before you disassemble it, okay? So the next step basically is to loosen up this washer that holds in place the dial, and counterclockwise, and hold it with your one hand and remove this dial. Now what you want to do is carefully remove it, okay, so it unwinds slower than if you lift it up, okay? So I'm gonna do just that. Boom, and you see what it did? It unwound itself about a quarter of the turn, okay? And if I lift it up, there you go. Here's my tungsten wire assembly. If I go counterclockwise, you'll notice that it's springing back, okay? The tension is really strong once it's fully wound, okay? So just tells you if you just remove it from any setting and just basically unwinds immediately, and in most cases it'll actually break that wire somewhere down the line. So there you go. So we have a couple of things here of note. These two openings here is for the shutter speed dial. As you see here, this is the one that I set to a B. and this opening is for the ASA dial. If I look at my dial here now and I flip it over, I see these two pins. This is for the shutter speed dial, and this pin is right here for the ASA. All right. So for whatever reason, if you need to disassemble the camera, now you know what controls what on this dial. All right, now putting it back in place is a little tricky, okay? Unlike disassembling it. Disassembly basically is just being aware of how you need to position it to reduce the strain on that dial. Now putting it back together, knowing that it was set to a B, which I'm gonna go ahead and confirm. What you do next is take this dial, try to align this pin first with this hole here on the ASA dial, okay? Align it, and with tilting it on about 10 o'clock side, okay? Tilt it, you see how it went in there all the way, right? But it won't be the same case here yet. What you want to do is, again, tilt it and then move it until the B position strikes, and you see how it sits perfectly now into the two-hole opening for the shutter speed dial. All right, right now we are in perfect position where we started. Now we're going to put back the washers. Clockwise is where we want to go. Tighten it. Now I can position it anywhere I want to position it. Say at 1/1000th of a second and 100 ASA. I'm going to put back my winding plate. Then I'm going to put the winding lever, washers, and a screw. And it also obviously goes clockwise. There you go. There's your Canon AE-1 assembly, disassembly of the ASA/shutter speed dial. Basically serves two purposes here. All right, so let's move on to the next one on our list, and that is Canon AE-1 Program. Okay, again, these are all my personal cameras, and our culprit is on this side here on the left hand side. Okay, basically push the button here and you're able to manipulate the dial. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna remove the rewind knob. Gonna take out the door. Again, I'm gonna hold on to the fork and turn this dial counterclockwise. Here's my dial here, I'll put it away. And again, similar to Canon A1, it's being held in place by a C-clamp. Structure of this dial is a little bit different than that of the Canon A1, so but the idea is similar. So I'm gonna go ahead and carefully lift it up here, remove it, and then take out the top portion of this dial. There's going to be a washer to be aware of here. I'm going to put that away. Now there's a spring washer here, copper washer. We'll put that away as well. And we're going to lift this guy up. All right, so here's our ASA dial. Now this is another washer plate, if you will, that keeps the dial in place. Okay, and here's our ASA contact. That's again, to get to it, you will have to take out the entire top cover, and then another C-clamp that you'll have to remove to take out or clean these contacts if they get oxidated. Okay, that's probably the only reason why you would ever want to remove this contact, because they do get oxidated and provide wrong readings to the camera every once in a while. Not the same case on A1. I've never seen those contacts really get dirty, but on the program they do get corroded somehow, somewhere. I don't know why, and it's a pretty common occurrence. So in any case, this is the way to disassemble it. Okay, putting it back in place is pretty simple. We're gonna, you see a little hole here, and there's a little pin here on this washer support plate. We're gonna align it, put it in place. It goes in just like so. Then we're gonna align the hole here on the ASA dial with the contact. Probably gonna angle it so you can see both. Boom, it sits perfectly, as you can see. Now you can turn it to your preferred setting. You don't have to, but you can if you'd like. And we're gonna put this copper washer in place. Then the top. Then we'll put the washer. And then the C-clamp. Okay, position it this way. Boom. Now you've got your dial reassembled. Now hold on to this button, and as you can see, I can do a full rotation from 3200 all the way down to 12. All right. Okay, and last but not least, we'll put back this rewind knob. Goes clockwise, tighten it. There we go. Here's our ASA dial. And in this particular camera, it's probably the only one out of the four, actually not probably, definitely, that this dial does only or serves only one purpose, and then just to control the ASA. Okay, it doesn't have the combo or a hybrid that does both shutter speeds or exposure compensation. It just does the ASA. Okay, and then the last camera on my list that I wanted to quickly go over with is the FT series. It could be FTb, FTL. I think they all pretty much share similar configuration when it comes to this dial. And again, this dial serves two purposes. It's both a shutter speed dial as well as the ISO ASA dial. Okay, now removing it also needs to be a careful process, because there is a tension, okay, on the shaft that controls and sits below this dial. So the way I like to do it, it's actually the other way around. The least tension you're gonna get is when you set it to the lowest ASA setting and 1/1000th of a second. Okay, this is in my opinion, that is the least tension you can get before it actually twists and unwinds itself. So there we go. I set it to this setting. I'm gonna loosen up this screw here. It's already loose. So now I'm gonna hold on to this dial, and I'm gonna fully unscrew and remove this screw here. Now what I want to do next, okay, I'd like to carefully lift it up, carefully, just say about a couple of millimeters up, okay? See? And as I'm lifting it up, I'm gonna basically push my tweezers or a screwdriver in to put pressure on the plate so it doesn't unwind immediately, okay? And I'm gonna continue rewinding it. And there you go, okay? So now we've got our plastic pressure plate here, okay? And now we've got our dial out. Okay, typically there's a little marking, and it would be right here. It tells you where to align your pin to this pressure plate, okay? And if I move it this way, kind of clockwise, you see how it actually unwinds a little bit, okay? So you want to go ahead and position it the way it was before, okay? You don't want to slot your dial into any of the other holes here, because then the readings of the light meter will be off. Shutter speed will be accurate, so it doesn't matter because you're lining up your dial with this shaft, but your readings of the light meter will be way off if you use any of the different openings here, little holes, okay? So our point of entry would be right here, and it will be typically marked. There's a little faint blue marking here. All right, so there we go. I disassembled the process. I demonstrated the disassembly process. Now we're gonna go ahead and demonstrate the reassembly process. We're gonna basically reposition it the same way. Okay, try to place it. There we go. It's fully seated now. You can see there's no opening here. And clockwise. Now we can go ahead and select our desired ASA speed, and this goes both ways. All right, so the process is pretty simple. You just have to be aware of it. Definitely do not just remove it and lift it, okay, as chances are that that plastic pressure plate will unwind quickly and it would lose its position, and then the whole calibration of the light meter will have to take place, and it's pain in the butt, okay? So try to avoid that. Be careful when you remove it, and as you remove it, make sure you can find a way to still hold the pressure plate in place as you take out this shutter speed dial. So that's about all I wanted to talk about, and if you have any questions, you can email me at garyscamera@yahoo.com or post some comments. I'll be happy to shoot some other videos. Maybe I'll do another video about similar process on a Minolta camera. We'll see. All right, well, thank you for watching.